Hi, everybody. Eve Harow, Rejuvenation on the Land of Israel Network. Today is June 2nd. Whoa, I can't believe we're already in June 2020, the 10th day of Sivan, 5780, in a few months time period that just seems to be like getting crazier and crazier. Somebody's just sent me a meme. Canadians must feel like they're living in the apartment above a meth lab. And I guess that is maybe not so funny. I just wanted to talk for a few minutes about how confused I am. We're going into a planned interview in a few minutes about Izzy, the new platform that is going to be streaming Israel and Israeli-oriented content, like Israeli Netflix. And I'm really excited about that interview. But I just had to take a couple of minutes to express what I think maybe a lot of you are feeling, which is that what the heck is going on? On the one hand, racism is awful. I think that most of us would agree, even though, to be perfectly honest, most people probably do have stereotypes and some kind, you don't have to call it racism, but, most of us do have some kind of stereotypical feeling towards others. But obviously, nobody is happy about seeing what purportedly happened in Minneapolis the other day. And there's a lot of confusion around that also, about a policeman killing young black man. It is, of course, not an excuse to go looting and rioting and totally wiping off the very thin veneer of civilization, anyhow, that exists in virtually every single country. There's kind of a social contract about what you can and cannot do. And yeah, you can have an alarm on your house, but if the alarms are going off on every house in the neighborhood as people are smashing into your homes, the police aren't coming and the alarm is meaningless. So a lot of what we think we have out there to keep us safe is just an illusion. And it's really only that kind of social contract that we have with our neighbors and with the people that live with us, that we will not let things get out of hand, that really keeps things from getting out of hand. I would like to think we have that in Israel. I think the last few months have shown us that to a great degree. Would prefer not to be tested, though, of course. So, it's clear that somebody is hitching a ride on all this, whether the reports of Antifa leaving rocks and hammers and incendiary devices in different neighborhoods and then sending people in there, probably paid as well, whether it's just the delight of smashing into a Prada store and stealing as many handbags as you can and feeling like you're not going to get punished because there's just so much going on. It's all going to get lost in the shuffle. There's a lot of different things happening here, most of which have absolutely nothing to do with what purportedly set it off. And I've been reading blogs and I've been reading articles about Jews, like there's one female rabbi who took her son out to some demonstration against racism and against, the feeling that blacks are stereotyped in America and don't have a fair shake, which, by the way, I do think to some degree is true. But on the other hand, you could say that about virtually every other group that at some point is going to come up against a wall because of some kind of political correctness. I know a very, very talented and smart young white Jewish man who was rejected from a position at an Ivy League university because a lesbian, I don't know if she was of color or not, doesn't matter. She applied for the position, even though he was told that he was much more qualified. Because of so-called political correctness, they needed to take her so that the teaching body, had someone like her on it, and they looked like they were going with whatever is cool to be going with now in the world. That's not some kind of racism to some degree, and that word is bandied about way too much. I'm just using it now. That's also not fair. People should be judged and given jobs and given opportunities. Everyone should be given opportunities, but people should be judged by their qualifications and not the color of their skin and not their gender and not anything else. So but that's not going to happen for a while, I guess. So there's racism just built, again, I'll use that word for lack of a better, built into society. And a lot of it has to do because of the so-called political correctness and the so-called liberals. They've actually, I think, made things to a great degree worse. And everybody's all agog about Black Lives Matter. And of course, Black Lives Matter, and white lives matter, and yellow lives matter, and every life matters. But don't kid yourselves that this is just an organization that's promoting the welfare and the caring of people of color. Black Lives Matter is a very political organization that is very anti-Israel, and they don't even hide it. So a lot of Jews are like running to support them. And I guess unless they haven't read what the platform is, they don't care that it means that that it's putting the Jewish state in the world, the only one in the world, in danger. So I guess, that might just tell you about the order of priorities, which makes me upset, but everybody's entitled to have their order of priorities. But people should just not be fooling themselves, that this is spontaneous. This is most definitely now not spontaneous. And this is really an attempt, it looks like from here, some kind of coup and some kind of definitely something to destabilize the United States. And from here, I could tell you, it looks like super frightening to watch Army vehicles driving down the streets of Los Angeles, where I grew up, to be in touch with people who are barricaded in their homes, or, watching rioters come closer, have gone to the office to see if it has been looted and has been destroyed. And there's some National Guardsmen, but most certainly not enough. So from here, it looks really frightening. And so, of course, I pray that it calms down and that America gets back to itself. But I think we all need to admit that, this could happen in other countries as well. And so nobody should be just saying, oh, this is just America because of their particular brand of a mix of populations. It could happen in a lot of places. That veneer of civilization that I speak about, there are disgruntled and unhappy and disenfranchised people everywhere. So that's one. So I pray that it calms down, but it's just going to happen again. If it calms down now, it's going to happen again unless really serious people and really serious leadership tackle this in a very, very, very serious way. It's just going to be a little bit of calm and then another storm. So I'm not giving any advice because I don't know what the hell to tell anybody to do. But just sharing my confusion and my prayers that it goes away soon, but that all of us really need to do some kind of, in Hebrew they call it a cheshbon nefesh, right? Like some kind of soul searching about where we sit on all of this and where our stereotypes are, and just be honest about it. For example, I am usually not a big fan of the police, all right? And I found that many of them are much more violent than they need to be in general. That perhaps people going to the police are not, it wasn't like they could have gone to Yale, but instead they've joined the police force. On the other hand, though, I have met some police who are absolutely outstanding, very devoted to their jobs, and will do anything to keep people safe, to keep people protected. So there's a stereotype. I think that I'm not the only one who has that stereotype against the police, but there are also some police who are fantastic. In general, don't give generalizations and really try and parse things out. And maybe neighborhood, community, city, and then state, and then on a larger country era way of doing things. Maybe that's how the United States can come out of this, because the United States is not just one big homogeneous country. There are a lot of different Americas, and the America of Kansas is very different than the America of New York City. And maybe that's a mistake that people have made for way too long, is in thinking that there's just one and that everyone's a big patriot, which sadly isn't true. So I just hope that good leadership pops up. This is a theme for me in my entire life, good leadership and the dearth of it in the world. Good religious leaders, good social leaders in different communities, and obviously good political leaders who have the most important thing for them is not getting reelected, but in actually being a public servant, a very old-fashioned term that perhaps needs to be used again. And again, not pontificating here from Israel, where we've got plenty of issues of our own. I am so torn about this plan that everybody's talking about. On the one hand, I think we should start and at least put sovereignty on something. On the other hand, the map is horrific. The idea that we're officially establishing a Palestinian state, that these are now going to be borders and not just suggestions for the future. A lot of things have changed in the last few weeks. And maybe I'm a very simplistic person, but I just think Israel should put Israeli law on all of Yudav Shomron. Definitely, let's start with Area C and then go from there, maybe having nothing to do with what the White House is suggesting that we do, just because after 53 years, it's what we need to do. But do we have the leaders who are brave enough to do that? And I have, because this is in my head, I'm sure it's in a lot of people's heads. So I have a webinar that I have planned for One Israel Fund for Thursday with Mayor Buchnik, who this is exactly his field, is U.S.-Israel relations and the possible ramifications of this plan. So if any of you are interested in listening and even in writing questions ahead of time, that I'm moderating it so I could ask him. So you can definitely be in touch with me. It'll be on my Facebook page, the flyer, with today already. It's probably there already, and you can tune in, and we can hear from an expert, if there's a wise way to go forward or not. So that's it for my Eve's peeves of the day. Probably haven't added anything to anything that you're thinking about now, and just really hoping that people stay safe, still from COVID-19, and also now from the rioters. If it's just over with smashed stores, then that's terrible enough, and businesses that may go bankrupt on top of everything. The Romans would not be surprised with what's happening here. They knew that to keep people quiet, you needed panet kirkas, you needed food and entertainment, both of which have been taken away in the last few months. Many people on unemployment, many people don't know how they're going to end the month. And the usual outlets for this kind of, for these kinds of frustrations are not there. The sports games, the rock concerts, a lot of the big events that usually manage to deflect people away from anxiety or frustration that they have, all those have been closed off. And I don't think that's any coincidence that a lot of pent up stuff is there, and it's coming out in incredibly unhealthy ways. So that's what we have to do, is just hope that all of this calms down and very quickly, but not kick the can down the road too far, because it is definitely clear that it's coming back. So that's that for this part. That, with much thanks to Tabitha and to Ben and to everybody here at the Land of Israel, we are going now into Izzy, something a whole lot more lighthearted. And when we talk about entertainment and ways of distracting ourselves and ways of laughing and feeling good and learning, so that's exactly what Izzy's about. So I'll be right back with my interview with Izzy. So don't go away.
The Land of Israel Network is your connection to Israel and the Jewish world. Listen to our show hosts, Ari Abramowitz, Jeremy Gimpel, Eve Harow, Josh Haston, Shlomo Katz, Mike Foyer, Yishai Fleischer, and more. Keeping you up to date on news, politics, and spirituality. That's the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. Broadcasting the truth and beauty of Israel to the world.
Hi, everybody. The lighter side of today's show. I am with Jessica Cohen, a co-founder, yes, Jessica, of Izzy?
Yeah.
So good morning. And so tell us, what is Izzy?
So basically, Izzy is a streaming platform in which you can see movies, TV shows, and documentaries from Israel to the world. So we're bringing you all these, things that you haven't seen about Israel, original content, and we're putting the magic of Israel on display.
Okay, so it's kind of like Netflix, but the focus is on Israel.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, who came up with this idea? You're from your accent, I can tell you're not from New York, and you're not a native-born Israeli. So maybe tell us a little bit about you and how this led into Izzy.
So basically, I was born in Argentina. I came to Israel when I was 21. I came to do a Masa program for 5 months. And then I fell in love with Israel and studied in IDC, went to Barcelona to study, came back, started working on TV, on Cannes, on Reshet, and then I still work in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, doing all the media and Spanish media, and making amazing videos, and we also make in Arabic, and a little bit in Russian, in English, and having doing also media for the city of Jerusalem, all the international media. So I'm like kind of an expert in Israeli media.
Right.
And then I met Josh, that is the co-founder, that he has another media company last year, and I made videos for them. And then we decided to make something bigger, and we came up with this amazing idea of a streaming platform. And then Corona happened, and
Right.
everyone is requesting for streaming platforms and want to watch more
Content.
things.
Right. Right.
Exactly.
So you actually weren't
Yeah.
going to launch until the spring, but because of the COVID-19, you've launched already. Is that how it's working?
Yeah. So basically, we're supposed to launch in November with all the original content and all the apps ready. Like we have 7 different apps. And then because Corona happened, we start selling already, pre-orders. And people
Mm-hmm.
were requesting it. Yeah, I want to watch. I want to see it. This people have time now, and they're hungry for Israeli content. So we decided, okay, let's do it before. So we only released the website version, and we're so happy. We're excited. Like everyone is, we're having amazing feedback, and we just launched 2 weeks ago.
Wow, that's incredible. So right now you haven't had time to put out your own content, right? You're using content that you licensed, already existing things about Israel or from Israel, and you're going to be spending this summer. You've got production companies. How's that going to work so that you have your original content?
The things we're waiting because now it's Corona, so like
Right.
everything is in a big waiting list. But the whole thing about like licensed content for people abroad is like all the content we're offering them, people never saw that because they was broadcast for Israel, they will broadcast on festivals. So for them, everything is new.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the magic of it because it's not that something you can find in HBO or something that you can find on Netflix. Are new, amazing content for them that here in Israel people already watch.
Right. Okay, but now we're showing the magic of Israel to the world. That's one of
Yeah.
your taglines. So can you give us some examples of some of the original content that you've already decided, like you've already signed contracts with certain people and they're going to be producing certain things for you? Give us a glimpse as
Yeah.
to what we can anticipate.
Yeah, so we have a Make a Wish Foundation documentary in which we will seeing kids, we will be showing all the wishes and like famous people, giving wishes to small kids. And we're really excited about it because it's not only that specific show talks to the hearts of people, uh, it's also something that it's relevant everywhere. Make a Wish Foundation is not only in Israel, but we are giving focus on Israel and all the Israeli actors and all the Israeli community and how they come together to make kids happy.
Okay. Yeah, and I know from someone who I've known for a long time, Judy Balint, that she wrote a book, Jerusalem Diaries, a couple of books, and you've asked
Yeah,
her to prepare that for a show. So
yeah.
yeah, that's
So
great.
yeah, we need to. So when these things happen, we have books. We have to remake the book and feed it to a screenplay or like make it into a series. And we're excited because that's her book. It's a real book. She talks about real stories and
That's
real
right.
people. And the good thing about that is like she talks about the 4 quarters of Jerusalem, of the old city in Jerusalem. And here we can have all the diversity that we as Israelis see. The people abroad don't. You come and you visit and you go to the Western Wall and you go to the Holy Sepulchre, but you don't go to the specific Armenian houses and
Right.
meet the specific Armenian people with their food. So it's good to like put all like also all these little minorities that exist in Israel and things that people don't know. Like how do they have any contact with Armenian communities?
Right. where they shine a spotlight on how amazingly heterogeneous Israel is and what's really going on here beyond the headlines, which usually focus on the violence and on the politics. There are such incredible people here and so many interesting things happening. And this is going to be a great platform to really show that to the world. Having said that, what language are you going to be broadcasting in? Is everything going to be in Hebrew with English and Spanish subtitles, or what's the plan?
So as for now, we have everything with English subtitles, but we have content that is in Russian and in English and in French. We have only one thing. But the whole point is like we have every kind of subtitles. We will have subtitles in Arabic, in French, in Spanish, in English, in Hebrew.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Wow.
the goal. But because we launch it now, we have only English subtitles.
So something you had said to me in a conversation that we had last week was that you also want to hire people who have made Aliyah. You want to have Olim from all different countries writing a lot of the content, because we are the ones who know what Israel looks like from the outside. That if you're trying to gauge it and portray Israel for the non-Israeli, then those of us who were non-Israelis, there's a different nuance there than having Israelis write for non-Israelis. Plus the fact that you said to me, which I thought was great, that you want to give job opportunities for people who are highly proficient, highly skilled in their native language to be able to come here and do something here on a very high level, which I thought was fantastic, because obviously getting a job, one of the things about moving to Israel is finding a job. And very often Hebrew is not your mother tongue, and that makes it a little more difficult. So if you're going to be providing those employment opportunities for people coming, that's just an added benefit. I thought that was fantastic. I just had to mention it. I really thought that was, I thought it was beautiful, and that not necessarily very many companies think that way. We want people to move here and bring all of their culture and excitement and the way they look at the world. But we also need to have a place for them to be able to do what it is that they know how to do really well. So I think Izzy's going to fill a really nice niche for that too. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because in Israel, like the whole TV and entertainment industry is the same people, the same circle.
Right.
In order to get in, you need to know someone from the circle. And if you don't speak Hebrew, you're not gonna be in those circles, and it's really hard to get a job like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we as Olim, like we struggle with that. Like, okay, specifically with me, I'm not a good example of that, because I was like always well connected, and I use my Spanish also into working here. But people come here, they don't know where to start.
Right.
How do you know how to reach? How do you know these people? Why would they hire you if you don't even speak Hebrew? So for two reasons that you mentioned, it's important. First, because they have all the languages that we want to produce. Okay, if I want to produce something in Russian, I'm gonna hire a Russian person. If I want to produce something in French, I will get a French person. And also, we're a Lim, and we believe in that. We believe that they, as talented as any Israeli, they understand our target audience better, and that's what we want to provide them, job opportunities.
That's great. So we're bringing people into Israel in order to bring Israel out to the world. So
Exactly.
It's kind of a different kind of exchange program. Okay. It sounds fantastic. I'm signed up. Oh, I wanted to tell my listeners there's a link in the text that goes on with this podcast. And special for listeners of Rejuvenation, you get 50% off for the first 3 months if you sign up through that link, because they wanted to just thank everybody for listening and for listening into this podcast and getting a first glimpse onto Izzy. So that's like a little gift that they're throwing out there, and I hope that it's great. I hope that people tune in and get excited and spread the word, because that's how it's going to happen. Netflix also didn't start big, right? And then gradually it got where it is. And there's so much misinformation about Israel and serious stuff about Israel that this is just going to show so many other facets of what you and I know is a very, very exciting and interesting and complicated place to live. So I think it's coming at a great time. I know maybe it wasn't a great time for you with Corona and having to push things off, but we do believe that everything does happen in its time. So, you launched early, and maybe that was what you were supposed to do.
Our whole point of Izzy is to entertain people. We are trying to provide the world with entertainment and people making their own judgment on Israel. We're not gonna have a politics kind of view, so we're choosing one side of the other. We're giving you entertainment. You can see a show what a family having Shabbat dinner, and then you, of course, like Jewish people have a different approach to Israel, but one of our second target audience are also Christian evangelicals, and we want them to have their own opinion on Israel, not based on politics or media. It's that you watch these TV shows and you have one character that is really nice, and one character that is crazy, and one character that is always doing like balagan. So you watch a show and you get your own politics. We're not pushing kind of anything on it.
Right. No agenda.
We're not saying that Israel is the perfect country to live. We're just showing you entertainment from Israel. You can decide what's your opinion on Israel.
Right. And something that I was saying before you joined the show is that a lot of us have stereotypes, whether we admit it or not. We think people are like this, or certain people are like that, or people from this country are cheap, or people from this country are I don't know what. But we're people, and I think it's important to get into understanding people. So there's some Israelis who are obnoxious, and there's some Israelis who are super kind, and just like in everywhere else. And I think that this kind of look on Israel will maybe also help people to look at their own societies in the same way. Like, oh, well, you just mentioned about that Shabbat table. All those personalities are probably in your family too, even if you're, I don't know, Roman Catholic, right? The overbearing aunt and the know-it-all cousin, right? So families are families, people are people. And maybe we just need to like break down a lot of that and just enjoy and not judge and and just see it for what it is, and without the overlay that we so often get from the media and from other outlets. So I think this is great, and I love the name Izzy. It's just so cute, like a nickname for Israel. Little Israel Izzy. That's so great. Okay, Jessica, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that our listeners also give me some feedback, which I'll pass on to you for the platform. Good luck with everything. I think it's got tremendous potential.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For sure.
And also I want to hear your feedback, what you think about the platform and everything.
No chance that you won't. Okay. Yeah. Thanks so much, Jessica Cohen, co-founder of Izzy. Join everybody. Just give it a 3-month trial and see how it goes. All right, everyone. That's it for today. Kind of a mix of a show of serious and of serious, but not as serious. And that I guess is what life's about. So whatever you are, stay safe, stay well, and hopefully craziness in all its factors and all its ways will pass very soon. So Eve Harow, the Land of Israel Network, Rejuvenation. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Hi, this is Josh Haston, host of Israel Uncensored here on the Land of Israel Network. Tune in every Monday to hear the latest news coming from Israel, plus interviews with top Israeli politicians, media personalities, and activists, all doing their part to counter anti-Israel propaganda and BDS. Don't miss a minute. Be sure to stream or download all of the amazing programming from our wide range of hosts here at the Land of Israel Network on thelandofisrael.com.